Well, hello everyone, YK here, and well, today we're gonna see a game of Steel Division 2. This is still a tournament game, but it's the FOB Arena game, Division 4, so be aware there might be a few more rookie error than the other cast will have, such as the Attack Powers cast or Commander Hours cast here. So, we're taking a few look at the decks here. First, between Stone the Term and CommanderNathan. Term is using a Fortune Panzer Hemmengering, is using a Maverick Income, which had a pretty decent B-face card amount of it, and good amount and good quality of medium tanks and armored cars, and also utilizing the Egg Panzer IV, but anti-air tab was all STKs as 7-1s and no dedicated fighter or dedicated cast except for the Ju-87D5. On to the part of Commander Nathan, a Night Guard Cavalier, which is a Vanguard income, and it is still a pretty much of a top tier division on the game for this time of the year, probably, and is still decent with the heavily overpowered Kizaki and its amount of it, and is using a Vanguard income, but really bringing his T-3476 and M-Shot in B-phase, that would probably hinder because all he had was 3 T-3476 Red Svedka on the Recon tab and the Valentine 9 on the Tank tab, double vetted. Anti-tank wise, it's a little bit lacking, but it's still usable with ZIS-2 and ZIS-3 and M4 45mm. Support tab, oh, I forgot the support tab of the the term that he's using 0 HMGs, but some Guerrillas and some M14s as well. Alongside with the card of Sturmtiger and IG-33, that would make a pretty potent one, but it's both of the heavy hitters are in B-phase. Back to Commander Nathan, says support tab, he's using a few more OB-25. No HMGs were used, and also a card of Ogden to boost his A-phase capability. And artillery-wise, it's a bit more of a disastrous, I don't know really, but it's still really enough for 3 Su-76M and a Jeep KO off-map artillery being used, and A-phase. Anti-air wise, there's a single vetted 37mm in A and B phase, and then 85mm in B phase. I would hope to see some 85mm in A phase already since it's Vanguard. Air tab, he's only bringing a TU-2S and the LR-34 as a solution, a little bit more underutilized, but it's still okay for 1v1 situation that Nathan needs. And so we are pretty much back into the game soon. Here we are for the game. Left hand side, it is the German flag Wehrmacht, which is Stern the Turn, using a bit more of a Japanese katakana for its name. Commander Nathan on the right hand side, and red is the 9th Cavalry, the Soviet ones. Onto the first minute, Wehrmacht, a Germans, or how do I say, Stunderterm is actually utilizing the Recon plus the Ju-87D5, trying to decently dislodge these Kazaki Mosin from getting into the town. Otherwise, there's only Osnats Sapeli, and then 42 trying going in the first minute. But I do think Commander Nathan is not really hindered by it, just pinned down and trying to move them forward, while the other hand and the northern side of the map is OB-25 and Sturmtiger taking down the Osnats. And more reinforced comes in as well with the T-3476 and T-30 Red Svedka, 37mm already, and Kazaki SVT. That's definitely his first minute reinforcement coming up ahead. With a few more considering the SDKZ being taken out by the M42 and the Sturmtiger dead. That nets in one flag, and Nathan is already overwhelming the southern flank, sorry. And the Osnats taken out, Osnats Sapeli, Ogdamachiki pushing into the SD Sturmtiger. SD233 is under threat by the M42 anti-tank gun, while the central flank is already central hill is already full of Germans, and the Soviets will have to pushing in on foot with some help of the Valentine in the end. More reinforcements are putting into the northern flank. 3 trucks, the Kazaki Mosin, the ME410 and the Ju-87D5. 87 is already coming up for its second strike right now. Down south, 233 taken out by the M42 despite taking heavy damage, and there's only 3 men for the Soviets to hold the flank right now. Zaki SVT and the 37mm are putting into use. One more 37mm coming up. The Ju-87D5 has already been forced to pull back by the 37mm, and it throws no cluster bomb this time. F-14 this time, actually not in the tank type, but in the support one for the Forschungsjäger, the Forschungspanzer Hammergerling. They pulling to the side, with Kazaki, Mosin and Valentine trying to hit the church against the SG Panzergrenadier. No one supporting it, with the Pak-38 coming in. This will be a pretty hard fight for Commander Nathan. He wants to pull ahead in the central side with the southern part of the game, M42 hitting the Pak-38 first, then the SG Pioneer still in the truck, not out yet. That was being taken out by the APCR, but there's no ranged firepower to finish off the SG Pioneer, and that could easily take out the M5mm, not having enough HE shell for the job. 37mm in, and Kazaki SVT used to well supporting this side of the map. 2 more Kazaki SVT moves in, and Sturmterm, the German, are not moving SG Pioneer forward yet. Commander Nathan, the Soviet side of it, the Soviet is completely taking the northern 2 flags and have to face off the Guerrilla and the Jagdpanzer. One more 258 for the job. Now Kazaki Papasha comes in with the Pak-38, trying to intercept but failed to do so. Back into the central part of the map, Guerrilla H is doing a decent job on locking down the Kazakis, already taking down multiple squads with the help of 31 and the 233. Back behind, there is probably no AT at this moment. Soviet could have utilized the Osnats already, but it's just not in time for the job. The Pioneer forced to fall back already. With curious how F-14 doing decent job locking down the Kazaki Papasha. No AT around here, no efficient AT around here. The Valentine is just too far away and just having very limited line of sight to support everything you need. U2 West comes in dealing with the Guerrilla, not really enough. Oh, that's enough. The 1,000 kilogram bomb that does take out the Guerrilla. But the Valentine is already dead by the Pak-38, and they lost their AT support again. Kazaki are full into the Sturmterm, taking down that as well, but the SG Pioneer is already moving into the place. Are we really going to here for the German to retake with more Valkyrie as the reinforcement? Very limited successful Sturmterm onto the central side. Is already losing a few more units, but Commander Nathan, the Soviet, has a really limited push. Very bad offensive for the Soviets right now for the first wave. Peaking, but the more concentrated onto the northern and the southern flanks as well. I wouldn't say that as a really huge failure. And probably both sides would have a few more focus onto the map, especially for the Germans right now. He's pushing in a lot of HG Panzergrenadiers. firepower that the Soviets does not have. The 37mm is taken out by the guerrilla with a really questionable positioning. Again, Kazaki Mosin doing its best, holding back the SG Panzergrenadier. That's not enough to deal with that. He needs to utilize the M42 ZIS-2 to take all the things out. ZIS-2 having a 120mm AP shell is probably having a few more trouble dealing with the Jagdpanzer. M42 right now, I wish he closed off the HE shell because he certainly does not want that to be opened. HE Panzergrenadier have a pretty decent line of sight against the M42 right now, and no Kazaki is trying to support that M42, with the northern one being taken out by the 233 and the Panzergrenadier. Few misplays up into the north forces the CommanderNathan to pushing in a few reinforcements such as the Valentine and the T-3476 Razvedka, but more of those income were put into the central part of the map, including the OB-25, Fumo Kazaki, T-3476 and the Valentine, trying to take back the central's flag with the Osnads already in and actually taking one flag back. SG Pioneer continued its assault against the Kazaki. With a few success, he does take out the Osnads, but taking heavy damage right now. Two more Valkyria moves in, and we will do the job. But just the lack of tank really hinders that progress. And also having a huge bulge on the map that nets the German one more flag this time. Down south is completely silent. Up in the center, the other wave of offenses coming through. Kazaki Babasha not really in their best environment. Kazaki SVT in their best environment. Is going against Valkyria. Or not, the SVT was just a little too far behind. Well, Valkyria can open up their MP44 firepower. And Valkyria being completely outclassed by the Kazaki SVT they had, with the northern side being undecisive as well. Kazaki SVT finally into position, but it can only take down the SG Panzergrenadier with limited success. And T-3476 Razvedka pushing in and onto Pack 38 side. It's going to be bouncing off a Pack 38 shell for the first time, and the second one penetrates, and the third one kills off the T-3476 Razvedka, with Valentine taking on the Jagdpanzer with limited success. He does not have any bounce, any damage onto the Jagdpanzer, throwing things piecemeal and without any success in the end for the Soviets. So far as we're heading into the B phase, where the Hermann Goering division had its full income, this time against 125 of the Soviets. The central part, the first artillery pieces are moving in, having fired their first shots. The 81mm mortar of the Germans are against the Ogushiki and the Osnas Komploti of the Soviets, where the Cavalieri is pushing in a few Kazaki and Basha into the town. Both the leader and the flame squad are dead, and Basha had to fill in the gap. One more Komes Kazaki trying to move in. Nathan, Soviets are pushing with the reinforcing with more Emsha, Kazaki SVT right now. T2S try to bombarding other part of the map. It's not really necessary, but it's going to be useful in the end. Now south, the Osnats taken out by the Valkyria, thus forcing the Soviets to fall back a little bit more, and two more flags taken back by the Germans. Jagdpanzer 4 have been an excellent spot. There's no Osnats around here to stop that Jagdpanzer 4, and he's completely locking down the central route in the end. So there's a verdict. Nathan really failed out onto the central side while he having limited success onto the northern part of the map, but fails to take down the Jagdpanzer with the SD2 very mismanaged. In the end, Ju-87D5 and the Hungarian air power, despite limited and without any dedicated fighters, still pull out a superiority and onto the Emscher and the Valentines. As we were speaking, taking out almost half of, about half of the tank and damaging all of them. And the Jagdpanzer finished the job in the end. More Jagdpanzer comes in. That's a good utilization of the Jagdpanzer that could, well, pretty much end the game. If Nathan cannot push any more lane or any solution to the Jagdpanzer, that would be game over for the Soviets this time. Kazaki still firing up with DP-28 against his company. All the Germans are already pushing in with only 2 men as Shipanis died by the Kazaki Babasha, but there's just now no movement for the squad to actually get into the range and throwing the AT grenade against the M14. That will be a pretty decent. That should be a pretty decent movement, but not really for CommanderNathan at the moment. And there goes the whole central position for any sort of counterattack for the Soviets right now. Naki still pushes in, trying to recover a few more flags. The Jagdpanzer trying to turn around and fire at the Studebaker truck. There goes the 1410 for... there comes the 1410 for the Germans. Possibly 1311 though. The end. As all of the Kazaki infantry were being pinned down, but there's still a leader preventing them from surrendering. Northern part of the map is this too, very mismanaged, taken out by either guerrilla or the infantry, and successfully pinning down the Kazaki Mosin, and then the Kazaki Pasha is all alone, no support. A few things in CommanderNathan took the very brain-dead choice of a platoon of a T-34-76 to continuing head-on against the Jagdpanzer 4 and possibly saving us getting back from a disaster. Still holding strong are the Kazaki Basha, despite losing the whole chance of taking down the M14 Italy tank. All the German had a really good amount of reinforcement comes in that must be worth of 2 in its income, including 1 more 81mm mortar, some HG, good Panzer Grenadier, Panzerfaust that's coming with the half-track, few more M14 tank and the guerrilla coming down to the southern part of the map, trying to take back a few things where the Kazaki is doing a decent job against the Valkyria. At the moment, he's fully committed onto this flag in this time. At the time being, I think in this game, still a 13-11 for CommanderNathan. T-34-76 inbound, taking off the 258, the Jagdpanzer trying to move in against the armor block that he had. Almost brain-dead choice, of course. It works. If that works, that works. And the Ju-87D5 is actually going in for a suppressing round instead of dealing with the T-34-76 because the AA is still there, doing a decent job forcing the Stuka off. There goes the second Stuka that's going for the T-34-76 right now. more UN reinforcement coming down to the northern side of the map. Buka, no interception from the 37mm, limited line of sight that it does provide it. Forcing another one to fall back, now there's 2 left, and the infantry support that CommanderNathan very much needed. Not really in here. Not really inbound yet, the lag there, 3-4, which was used as an interceptor, being targeted by the 7-1, and the second 7-1 as well here. Q2S dropping bomb on the Jagdpanzer, finally, that wasn't needed, bomb strike or the airstrike. It's just not enough to take down the Jagdpanzer in the end. Southern part of the map, we should see a huge movement from the Kazaki right now, trying to cover a few more flags for CommanderNathan to lengthen, trying to make the match a little bit longer as he would wanted that. And 42 already firing at the HG Panzergrenadier, and it's not really in line of sight of any infantry units so far. P-3476 also coming in as forward with the IG-33 and the Guerrilla, trying to intercept the mostly soft targets of the Kazaki. While Panzergrenadier HG are closing the gap. Not really closing the gap, but actually exploiting the gap that the Kazaki has had, and probably trying to nab a few more flags back to the German side, making it 12-12 in 18 minutes of C into B phase. Like 8 minutes into B phase. Let's say that. Kazaki Babasha throwing off another 80 grenade, taking down the half track, still holding a flag pretty firmly on the Soviet side, while the Germans trying to move forward with HG Sturmgrenadier. More coming into the part side of the map, trying to bring it close against the Kazaki. Second 37mm has pushed in to compensate for the loss of 1 or 2 more P-3476 on the northern side. The gap is mostly closed right now. If that was a complete surround, then things could be ending really badly for the cavalry. Already 3 flags taken, and more will be taken if that Kazaki has not come soon enough. And for the time being, Guerrilla has a pretty good line of sight against the 37mm and the 45mm right now. That is the 37mm taken down. T-3476 had to push forward, and this is going disastrous for the Kazakis. As they're heading on, taking on against the Valkyria, and a lot of IG-33 stop the progression of the Soviets right now. Kazaki pushes in, more Kazaki comes through, but it's pretty much not enough for the Soviets to push forward. There comes the Sturmtiger, while a lot of more German armor are coming in to save the day for the Hermann Göring division. 13-11 for the Germans as we head into the phase C. We're seeing an 85mm dual-purpose gun being put into use, and the Kazaki Pasha are going in against the Guerrilla right now. More things coming in, the central part of the map finally. The Kazaki has already been taken down by the overwhelming German forces. And netting 1 more flag for the Germans on the northern side right now. It's just being very rough for the Soviets right now. He's pushing in a few more Kazaki, but it's just not enough to hold out the SG Sturmgrenadier. As they take down the Kazaki, 231 onto the transport truck as well. Not looking too well. Taking down 1 squad and probably 2, and right now heading against the PTRD firepower. More PTRD shot could take out the Kazaki. It could take down the 231 in the end. SG Sturmgrenadier are in position, and right now really good for killing off the Kazaki. Once it's onto position, he's using, oh well, seize order. Is that seize order for the SG Sturmgrenadier? This could spell disaster for the Kazaki right now. That very looks like an AI order right now. Against the Kazaki, yes, they were being pulled back. Instead of actually taking out the Kazaki, that making one more flag back for the Soviets. As for another few batch of reinforcement, that would be pretty much intercepted by the Pak-38 taking 2. And there goes the third truck. No, not the third truck taken down. But they will be intercepted by the HG Sturmgrenadier, and they're forced off and having to fight long range with its DP machine gun. Back to the southern side, the Kazaki is still holding out on the salient, and the reinforcements are doing a decent job holding out of the forest, and actually holding the flag of their own, with the Osnats taking down one T-34-42. And the second one goes very much aggressive right now, not really in time. Block 3-4 had a very questionable rocket firing at the T-34-42 in the end, with the Sturmtiger taking out almost all of the firepower, the heavy ones in the forest, especially the 85mm AA. See a few more things dropping down. Which one was it? That looks like a Tu-2S. Or the Me-410 for either side. That's being taken out mostly by the 7-1 in the end, though. A7D5 coming up. It's going against T-34-40-76. With one more 37mm moving in. That's not going in time to save the tank and the suppressed infantry. The salient, the surrounded ones, are being taken out by the M14 and IG-33. One more leader remaining in the spot. With the center part of the map being silent so far, German pushing in its half-track without infantry for one more flag in the end. And on the northern side, the suppressing firepower, despite it being a cluster AP against the Kazaki, went mostly successful. But be aware there are a lot of Kazaki left, and there are still T-34-76 inbound. And there's no AT so far for the German that can respond to it. Thus making it to a 13-11 for the Hemingering division. And the Kazakis heavily outmatched this time in terms of KD and in terms of the flag's position. The last unit that was holding on, that makes it a 15-9 CommanderNathan, it has very limited option to bring the game back. 16-8 right now, furthermore could come. It's pretty much gang right now, unless CommanderNathan can actually pull off a miracle around here. But Jagdpanzer have a pretty decent position. Hasn't been spotted by the Soviets yet, I think. Or not. The Kazaki does stop at a pretty exact position that he needs and pushes too much forward, firing its PTRD shells against the Jagdpanzer. PTRD onto the half-track, bounces off. The first one, no Osnats movements right there, far. Bringing a few more reinforcements, trying to pull it out. Aki Papasha taking out both half-track in the end. Let's give a few more breathing space for the Soviets. Osnats finally pushing in after the T-34-76 has already been taken down by the Jagdpanzer. Osnats moving in, the bazooka shots are fired, and still very far ahead. That's going straight against the T-50-11. second bazooka shots were fired as well, but it's already pinned down enough that the 251/1 avoided the shot. With limited Kazaki right now, he can only take out the SG stun pioneer, but the half track were pretty much out of reach at this moment. Few more reinforcements still coming to the north as the Emsha. That would help out a lot for the Soviets up to the northern side, but on the south, it's going pretty desperate against the Germans are trying to push in the T-34-42. Netting out one Kazaki Papasha surrenders by the half track, and the second one is not gone yet. He's going for a few more rounds about it. 85mm trying to push up. Pin down Kazaki, pin down the 85mm and the second Kazaki. Right now firing against the SG stun Grenadier, not really enough for the job, but 15-9 for the Germans right now. He's pushing in a few more reinforcements, but that's long enough. And CommanderNathan surrenders in the end. 28 minutes and 15 seconds of fighting. The kills were pretty much overwhelming for the Germans. 3,060 points worth of kill against CommanderNathan having 1,610 points worth of kills. Well done for Stunderton winning the game. He's utilizing his guerrilla pretty much well, and also the opening does help him taking over the central position, but that's more on the part of CommanderNathan having a lot of fumbling into the center to solidify the German position as in the end. Kazaki SVT still doing a wonderful job. Kazaki Papasha still doing very decent in their respective range. That's pretty much all of it for the Soviets. Not taking the T-34-76 and the Emsha in the 8th base were questionable in the deck choices. Or else, yeah, before the game I was thinking that it is really much 9 cavalry is going to lose. But Hermann Goering had their armor vehicle pretty well managed in the end. I would say against 9 cavalry, the Jagdpanzer were really much outclassing all the armor vehicles that the 9 cav had, and 9 cav does not pull up a effective solution against the Jagdpanzer despite there are SD2 57mm guns, but they are really mismanaged in this game. Pack 38 also doing decent job against the lightly armored T-34-76s. But killer ones that for once they are actually being used for taking out a lot of scores this time. Other than that, the J87D5 do have their purposes, despite it being suppressing for most of the time instead of actually dealing with the armor blob that the Soviets had in the end. 633 proves itself once again against a lot of 37mm. This time Sturm Tiger actually having a few more kills this time against the Southern Forest. And yeah, that should be the end of this Steel Division 2 cast. This is YK. I will hope to see more. I will hope to cast more if I have more free time, but that's pretty much about it for this day. Well, in the end, still the same. Good luck and have fun out there. This is YK. Signing out.